Yeah, I
So
think I joined
plenty of
in 20.
experience with the one hub rules, but also over the years, Mark's been, played a vital part in adapting, editing, getting these rules to where they are today. So perfectly posed to be able to offer his opinion on some of the incidents we're going to look at this week. So China, last week, Mark, a track that often provides good racing. You got that long back straight, the chance to get back at people. How was your race in China?
It was a pretty calm race from my side. A good one as well, because I had an engine penalty. So I started at the back, and I managed to get, I think, P9 in the end. So.
And in the P1 tier this season, any points are a massive achievement.
Oh yeah, it's a really tough field.
Alrighty, well, as always, Jess is in our ear, and everything you see on the screen is what she's providing for us. So the first incident we're going to look at is between Josh and Papa. And Josh featuring in the steward's office quite a lot this week, Mark, in China.
Yeah, he had quite a few incidents, but we all have weeks like this. Things just don't go our way.
We're running on board here from Josh. You can see the Red Bull outbreaks himself, runs wide, obviously stops the Mercedes from turning in, and ultimately Mark resulted, you can see there, you can see the tyres touch. Now had obviously Papa made the corner, then that would have been perfectly legitimate, but obviously he didn't. There was no further action on this occasion because both drivers went off track.
Yes, exactly. And also, Papa got most of his car ahead before the turning point, so he was perfectly entitled for that corner and for that position. And Josh just turns in slightly earlier, makes contact with the wheel, and they are both sent off the track because of this contact model on the game.
Yeah, so I think a really good example of a racing incident, right? Because both drivers contributed to them both going off track. As you said, Papa was clearly ahead at the inside. It's his corner. He's brakes slightly late and goes off. But, we can't tell. Has he gone off and kept the position, or was the contact, meant that they both went off? I think in all, there were loads of factors that contributed to them both going off the last corner here and into the run-up. They're lucky that obviously it's tarmac.
Yes, exactly.
All right, next one we're going to look at was a really interesting one, actually, because it's been debated in one of the community channels on the server. So I know Papa was looking for some clarity on this one. So I believe, Jess, we got 3 POVs to go through of this incident. So the first part is here, I believe, where Salau makes contact with Chris and was awarded a time penalty for that, I believe, Mark?
Yes, Salau got a 3-second penalty for this incident, as he was not far enough alongside to make the corner or to be entitled for space, and he cost Chris quite a bit of time due to him losing DRS, because it was just before the DRS detection zone. So we felt that a 3-second penalty was
Poor
a
Chris
good call
gets hit again at the hairpin. So obviously, the reason that I think, who was the other driver? Josh was involved in this was because obviously Salah's made that contact. It's enabled. He's then had another slapper there, as you can see. So now he's, rather than attacking, he's defending all the way down this straight. And we're going to head into the braking zone, which is where the second part of this incident happens. So you can see Josh has got the move done. Chris is entitled to do his line. Salou goes to the inside. Now, Josh has moved, yeah? Attacking to attack Chris.
Good job. Nice overtake.
Salau put his car in a position where Mark, he was never going to make that corner, regardless of Josh's movement.
Good job. Nice overtake.
a bit later than the cars ahead, so I don't think he was ever gonna make that corner without contact, especially with two cars.
Good job. Nice overtake.
So we decided to give both Josh and Salah 5-second penalties for this because neither driver was far enough ahead to make the move. As you can see, Josh doesn't really get alongside by the turning point.
Yeah, so both drivers sending a little bit of a dive bomb there. Obviously, Salah clearly outbrakes himself rather than, I think, intentionally trying to go for this move. But you can just see in this slow-mo that Jess is providing that even if the Ferrari had kept his car straight, there was absolutely no way he was going to slow that car down, whether Josh was there or not. And ultimately, you know, Salah's responsible for his Ferrari, and what he chooses to do in the braking zone obviously has had a detrimental impact on the two cars ahead, which is why he was penalized. Josh equally was penalized because he's obviously gone for a bit of a dive bomb. He wasn't 50% alongside at the braking point, and therefore poor Chris, the innocent bystander here, has been the one to lose out the most.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate there, but I mean, it's again one of those things. I think Salah was also a bit caught out because of the incident into turn 11 before the DRS detection zone. Because I know he said on his stream, he apologized to Chris right away, so I think that also contributed a bit to him just missing that braking point just slightly. It wasn't like an outrageous dive bomb, but it was just slightly too late.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Papa saying in the chat, he thinks that the move from the moving under braking from the Mercedes is what caused. I mean, in my opinion, I think you could have removed Josh from that situation. And from the footage I'm watching on Salah's, I don't think there's any way he'd stop that car without hitting Chris's side pod. He would have either had to veer left to avoid the rear of Chris's car or cut across, like I think we saw an incident in Austria earlier in the season. But Salah asking a question, if anyone considered what happened directly after the hairpin, though. It's a good point. I'm not exactly sure what was reported to the stewards, Mark. Was that section of the incident?
Yeah, we did look at it. Chris and Salah just hit each other, but we felt that both drivers could have left more space for each other, as you can see here. Salah has quite a bit of room on his right side, but they just make contact, and we felt that it was just an unfortunate racing incident. Of course, Chris could have kept more to the left as well. So yeah, we felt that both drivers were equally responsible for this one.
Do we have Chris's POV of that incident? Jess,
I don't think we do.
Okay. Right, that's interesting. Well, ultimately, you know, at the first point was back at the end of sector 2, which resulted in a 3-second time penalty for Salah. Obviously wasn't 50% alongside at the point of braking, at the point of turning, and then at the hairpin, obviously out braking. Josh has moved, wasn't 50% alongside as well at the point of turning, so ultimately that's why both of those drivers were penalized. The 50% rule is obviously something that we've introduced and really stressed, that if you're not 50% alongside at the point of turning, then the car in front does not have to give you room at all. And ultimately, that's what resulted in those penalties. All right, Jess, shall we move on to the next one? So the final incident we're going to be looking at before we look at some good racing with Rye Dog, I believe. Yeah, so this is at the start, isn't it? So into turn 1 here, Mark. I mean, how many incidents over the years have we seen at the start of the races, this long right-hander into this slow left-hander.
Yeah, I think the incident itself is a bit later on in the lap. I think around turn 6 or 7.
So, just on the exit of this corner, you'll see little squeeze from the car in front. Mark, ultimately, what was the decision?
We went with no further action, as Rydog was not far enough alongside around the outside of turn 7. So, I mean, it's a bit naughty to kind of force someone off the track, but I think Rydog or Adagio had every right to do that.
Yeah, I think past corner like that, again, you got to look at the... It's difficult, right? When it's easy for us to look back now and go, how far was he alongside? You know, lap 1, should he have backed out? Blah blah blah. But in this situation, you got to judge it as you're driving, and you know, you can see the car behind just kind of got at the point of contact, but there wasn't too much time lost, and therefore the stewards felt that no further action. I'm just gonna point out. I know Popper's saying that moving under braking stage 100% is, but in my opinion, we shouldn't be looking at Josh moving under braking, because he's perfectly entitled to go for a move in that hairpin. Just because there's a car behind him doesn't mean he's not allowed to go for a move on the car in front. So if you're a middle car, you don't just have to sit there and wait to see what happens. Ultimately, Josh went for a move on Chris. He got penalised because he wasn't 50% alongside, but he's within his right absolutely to go for that move. And it's the car in the third in the train. It's his job to also anticipate that. That's part of racing, and anticipating what are the cars ahead going to do. And would you agree, Mark, that Josh didn't get far enough by the time they got to the turning point, but Josh was entitled to go for that move when there was the three of them there?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Josh was entitled for that move. Of course, in the end it didn't work out, but I think Solau would have hit Chris or Josh either way, because he was really too late with 2 cars ahead. With the slipstream, the overspeed, he was not going to slow down for that corner.
Alrighty, well, let's move on to some good racing. So we're going to look at Stroll's POV, 4-way battle on the last lap. I think you were involved in this as well, Mark, weren't you?
Yeah, I think. I was.
I think it was. So Jess will bring it up for us. So here we go. So it's both Astons, a Ferrari on the left-hand side. Now, obviously, this last lap, going 4 wide, absolutely crazy. The Ferrari on the left, you can see outbrakes, slides the rear a little bit on exit. But what a move that was, that he was able to pull off the Aston Martin there. I mean, what were you thinking, Mark, going... Did you know that you were 4 wide at one point?
Yeah, I was trying to give him slipstream right here. As I move over, I try to give him a bit of slipstream so he can get ahead of Moggs. But yeah, he really nailed that final corner. There was a bit of contact, but I think that's fine, especially with this game. There's always a bit of desync, so it was a really nice one.
You know, incredible that there was no major contact or no one sent veering into the left or the right barrier. But you know, that's the sort of driving that you expect in the top tier, and you can see that obviously you've helped your teammate and you cross the line behind him. So yeah, great racing, not just by him, but you guys as a pair. So well done to you. Next one we're going to look at is Casper, Colin, and Moggs. So again, from the P1 tier. And I know Casper really enjoyed this one. Yeah, so Casper, we're going to see it from Casper's POV. And coming out of the pits. So talk us through this one, Mark. I mentioned this corner earlier. It's so tricky, this turn one.
Yeah, it's a really tough corner because there's also multiple lines you can take here, so it's a really tough one to take cleanly and nicely.
So you can see that obviously it's Colin, isn't it? Just behind,
Yeah,
trying to keep that position, and just giving each other enough room. You can see how close the wheels get multiple occasions. And again, you can see there the difference between the tire compounds as well, the extra grip that Casper's able to have, but Colin putting up an absolute fight and not giving up at all.
Yeah, it's a really nice move, especially coming out of the pits with cold tires. A really nice one.
Alrighty, next one is your brother, Mark. So Moki from the P2 tier. Just bring up his footage so you can talk us through your brother's move here. Obviously in the Ferrari this season, lining up again, such a tricky traction zone, one of the trickiest on the calendar actually because it's so high speed, and then down this back straight, absolutely dumping your airs. DRS is open.
Yeah, I really don't like that corner because I usually lose traction, so I'm very careful on it. But he really got that nicely. The exit, and then the move.
Yeah, I think absolutely executed his braking here to a perfection. Down the inside, obviously you're always a little bit off-sighted in terms of where the racing line is. But you'll notice that his right front, he's just able to make contact with the inside curb just there. Obviously goes slightly deep, but it actually compromises the two cars he was racing. It stops them from kind of getting the switch back on him. So yeah, really well executed move there from your brother.
Yeah, it was a really nice one. I think also the two guys ahead of him, maybe they had contact or something, because I see one of them is facing the wrong way as they turn into the corner.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there.
All right, and the next one is Ocon and Jamie from the P4 tier. Now they've had quite a few battles on track this season. I feel like it's not the first time we featured them on the Stewards show. Ocon always sending his footage in as well every week for any racing that he's done. So big thanks to them. So down the inside comes the Ferrari. Remember, this is for the lead of the race, by the way. Goes back to the racing line. Now goes deep. Just about keeps his Ferrari on the track and able to get the traction out of the hairpin. But then goes slightly deep again. Jamie's focusing on his exit. And you can see, this is what I was talking about earlier. The move isn't always done. And Jamie getting the position back.
Yeah, especially it's with the DRS detection. Of course, there's two detection zones for this main back straight and for the main straight. So it's really easy to just take the position back after you lose it into the hairpin.
Yeah, and Ocon using all of his errs, which is why he suffered as well down this main straight. He's hovering on none as he crosses the line there, 2%. Yeah, and the DRS of Jamie able to get the position back. So, but also that's a sort of, I enjoy what from a spectator point of view when there's that type of DRS situation. Ocon, by the way, nicely moving back. A good example of how to move back to the racing line. Once you're confident you're clear of the car that you've just passed, obviously you're allowed to go back towards the racing line into the braking zone. But ultimately, yeah, that final corner there, just tricky in terms of going a bit deep and Jamie getting the position back. But great racing between these two. All season long they've had great racing. All right, so next week, well, I say next week, this Sunday is obviously Miami, where we're racing in real life as well. So we always try and time it if we can. Fortunately, obviously, the last two rounds in real Formula One were cancelled, so they didn't match up. But Miami this week, we mentioned DRS zones, a really long one, again, down the back straight and in the final sector as well, Mark. Any tips for drivers on Sunday around this track?
Just keep it out of the walls. mainly, especially in that final part, from turn 11 to 16. It's a really tricky part of the track.
Yeah, I think it's obviously quite high speed. It's got such different types of sectors. The first sector is you want as much downforce as you can, but potentially that's going to hurt you in the latter part of the lap. Plus you got that sloppy section in the middle bit there with those curbs, which I've personally never enjoyed driving. Setting the car up, Mark's going to be important here. Pit entry as well, obviously a wide pit entry, but drivers need to be cautious of the white lines. And the pit exit as well, you're joining where cars are coming out of turn or into turn 2 at quite a high speed.
Yes, drivers will need to watch out, especially in the pit exit, because they are going to be on cold tires and they are rejoining right onto the racing line for turn 3. So it's a tricky pit exit.
And we got, just reminding us actually, we got 2 championships that could be decided on Sunday. Jamie could win the P4 championship and Jacob could win the P2 championship. Jacob's one is a lot more likely than Jamie, but nevertheless could be crowned, either of them. So make sure you tune in on Sunday. And Jess, we still got the pre-race show at 11 on Sunday. Yeah, so 11 o'clock on Sunday for the pre-race show. Obviously, you'll find out the weather. We'll do the hot lap. No Colin, because he's away this week. How dare he? But nevertheless, Jess will be there to bring you all the information that you need before your race on Sunday. And you can see in the video just how flat the track is, obviously going around the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And yeah, a street track, but definitely one that features some high speed and a different mixture of corners. So best of luck to all the drivers on Sunday. Hope you enjoyed this Stewards show. Will it rain or not? Fox asking. That's a very good question. We will find out on Sunday. It's meant to rain in real life on Sunday, I think, as well. So be interesting to see whether we can mirror that. But Mark, thanks for joining me in the episode tonight. Been good to have you along and get your insight into some of the incidents and some of the racing. And just as always, thank you very much for showing us everything you see on screen. And we will see you next week for another episode of Inside the Stewards Room. Just want to thank our sponsors and partners, Pure Sim Gear, Sim Racing Setups, Next Level Racing, our title sponsor Delta.app, Vespertine, and SimGrid. That's all from us here tonight. Thanks and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.